Hello everyone, it's me, the Retroden, and today I want to talk about a game called Enshrouded. So, I recently played Enshrouded and I was thinking of doing more of a scripted exposition type video for it, but then I played it more and more, and I think I played it enough to where I could make a sort of short, unscripted video straight to the point in which I could lay the foundation of my thoughts on the game. So I played it for around 10 hours, and I can say right from the bat, I really liked it and I want to play it more. The things I could take right from the beginning is that this game has clear inspirations. Let's start with the most obvious one, which is Breath of the Wild. The open world system, how the game looks, the most common thing games that are open world right now are taking from Breath of the Wild, which is the stamina system, are a clear inspiration from the Zelda franchise. Then you have inspiration from games like Valheim, with things like the survival systems and the comfort systems from your base, and things like that are basically inspired by Valheim. And this is just my vision, they might not be specifically inspired by Valheim in itself and other survival games, but Valheim is the most recent one, and that has the combat system and mechanics most similar to what Enshrouded is doing, so I think that is one clear inspiration. And then the last inspiration that I can pretty much find when I look at this game is V-Rising, especially when it comes to the base system and how the base has to have a heart, and then you can put that heart and you can craft more bases and have more base hearts in other parts of the huge map. I think that is very clearly inspired by survival games in general and V-Rising. But these are common traits that are shared between survival games, but I can pretty surely say that one of the main games that this game is inspired on is Breath of the Wild. So the game is really good, as I just said. It has an open world that really invites you to explore with a sprawling, colorful world. It's also very filled with things, so when you're exploring, you're going to see a lot of things popping up in the world and in the map that you're going to want to explore. And that's a really good way to put things, instead of going the good old Skyrim and Ubisoft type of exploring, in which you just have a ton of waypoints that you know what they are and you just have to check them off the list. You have a lot of things in Enshrouded that have maybe some randomized loot there that you can go back and check, so it also incentivizes a lot of exploration and re-exploration of the same spots you are going to see throughout the world. So the game has a quest system that always points you towards the next big objective, and the first hours of the game has you going into different places, learning about its systems and getting more quests from your base heart, because the flame, basically the story of this game, which I didn't really pay attention to, is that you are a flameborn and you are going to heal this world because you are the chosen one and you have the flame inside you, and the base also has its kind of flame and you're getting quests from it on how to rebuild the world. So the first hours of this game have you getting introduced to mechanics and crafting your base, and the first mechanic which I found really interesting is how you also get other quests and more side quests of the game, which is collecting NPCs. So NPCs in this game and the content of this game, the things you have to craft and to improve in your base and the systems, are you get them through NPCs that you find inside dungeons, which the game points you toward. In that sense, it's very good because the game tells you where each NPC is, and each NPC has a purpose, like the blacksmith for crafting blacksmith related stuff, the hunter for like pelts and bows and things like that, and so on and so on. But the game has you collecting NPCs, which then give you even more quests to upgrade them further and further, getting more unlocks in terms of crafting and building and unlockables. So let's talk a bit about the base building. I love the base building in this game. It's very intuitive and easy to understand. It has some snapping mechanics that are weird to get adapted to, because it adapts the amount of materials you need to spend to how you're positioning the materials in regards to the things you already have built. But I think it's very good. You can craft some really pretty stuff with it, and it's not that complicated to where you're going to have to look up guides on how to craft stuff. It's very straight to the point, and I think there's a lot of moving mechanic to where people are going to, and already probably have crafted some very beautiful stuff with this. It's just a question of you looking it up on YouTube and see what the crafting system in this game is actually capable of. The base also comes with one very important stuff, which is the comfort mechanic, which I talked about. So this game has a buff system like Valheim, in which you can eat food to buff up your character, and a certain type of food buffs you up for a certain time with different buffs, and your character's base, has a comfort level in which you can improve by adding more decorations to it that improves the amount of buffs you get for a certain amount of time. And that is a very good mechanic because it incentivizes you to keep decorating the base, not only for aesthetic purposes but for actually in-game rewards and incentives. So the main mechanic in this game is the Enshrouded mechanic. And the plot of this game has you going into places that have this shroud, and that shroud initially kills you in 5 minutes if you stay inside of it too long. There's buffs you can get to increase the time you can stay inside the shroud, but I have some problems with this mechanic. Despite this being the main mechanic of the game, and it's basically what's gating you from getting into harder content throughout the game, you can't see anything inside the shroud. I know that's the whole point, but there's a line that divides the plot from how the game actually feels, and I think the game has to lower the opacity on this shroud, because I found myself going into the shroud to clear the nests, which is one of the main mechanics of the game, and most of the times I got killed by things I couldn't even see because the shroud was just that dense. I think this is what they are going for, and I honestly think this is a bit of arbitrary or artificial difficulty, because me dying because I couldn't dodge an attack or because my gear isn't properly leveled up, that I can take, but me dying because I just couldn't see whatever is in front of me and I'm getting swarmed by like all the places is not something I find really fun. Also, when it comes to being swarmed by like everywhere, I don't think this game has a very good targeting system, and sometimes you can get pretty overwhelmed really quickly, and I think the enemy amounts and how they approach you, the AI overall could be improved, but I think that's very much fixed if you switch to a ranged class, because there's a clear advantage when it comes to ranged classes in this game, and I personally have switched my build to a ranged class, whether in the beginning parts of my journey I was a melee class, and I find that having that ranged advantage over enemies makes the game way easier, because you can just cheese everything if you're ranged, to be honest. But yeah, that's another one of the problems. You can basically either make this game very difficult for you with being melee and having to constantly be on top of gear upgrading and dodging and min-maxing your combat, or you can go the magic route or the archer route, which is the one I'm going for, and make the game a lot easier on yourself. And I say, why not just go for it, make your experience easier, because why make the game harder on yourself? Just have fun, do whatever you want. The game has a skill tree system like PoE does, which is the tree system similar to also Final Fantasy X, in which you have to put points you get from doing various activities such as quests and leveling up. Leveling up is pretty slow in this game, so you're probably going to get more skill points towards the questing side of the game, but it's just a matter of crafting a build. It's nothing complicated, you just read the description of whatever the points do and you're going to create a build very easily through that. The gear system is something I also want to touch on. The gear system in this game is pretty simple. You get gear by crafting it through different NPCs, and different NPCs give you different gear sets with different buffs. Now, depending on what build you are going to do, you can just improve the NPC you want and craft a gear to there. Like me, myself, I'm improving the hunter right now because I'm crafting the archer gear, and that's how I'm approaching the game. But these are some of my initial thoughts on the game. I still have to play it more. I want to maybe complete it sometime. It's a really long game, so I don't know how much time I'm going to take to go about it, but this is a game I would definitely recommend. Despite all the faults I've pointed in the last 10 minutes, this is a very well crafted game, and you can see there's passion and inspiration on it, and I love what the developers are going for. I love the world. I know there are things that have to be fixed, but overall this was a great experience, and I'd recommend it to anyone who is a survival game fan and is looking for something new to move from all the common already set survival games we already have. But this has been my view on Enshrouded. I hope you have some input to tell me on the game. If you want to tell me something, make sure to leave it in the comments. Make sure to subscribe. We're getting close to 2K. If you want to help, it's always appreciated. But other than that, this has been the Retro Den, and I'm out.